Again, everyone, I would like to welcome you to this event and thank you again for your attendance. The focus of this public forum is on the issue of income inequality and citizenship here in the United States. This issue has been a hot-button topic as several presidential candidates have addressed it and have provided their own alternative solutions to tackling income inequality. For the past few decades, income inequality in the United States has been steadily on the rise. The Gini Index reports on the income inequality in a particular nation state, 0 being perfect income equality, 100 being perfect income inequality. According to the World Bank, in 1986, the Gini coefficient here in the United States was rated at 37.7. In 2013, the number jumped up to 41.1, indicating that within a 17-year span, the income gap is slightly widening here in this country. It continues to do so. Based on a report developed by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, out of 34 developed countries that they assessed in 2011 to 2012, the United States was the 4th highest ranking country in terms of income inequality, superseded only by Chile, Mexico, and Turkey. The average Gini coefficient for the 34 member states of the OECD had a rating of 31, with the US Gini coefficient being above the average. That means that income gap is much greater in the United States compared to other countries that we have strong cultural and linguistic ties to, including Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. While some US politicians have accused social democracy as a system that would lead the country backwards, the Nordic countries such as Iceland, Norway, Sweden, and Finland that operate under such a model, they have been reported to have high levels of democratic freedom, high levels of transparency, high scores on the Human Development Index, low income inequality, lifelong spans, and the list goes on. According to a 2011 study conducted by Michael Norton, a professor of business administration at Harvard School of Business, and Dan Ariely, a professor of psychology and behavioral economics, most Americans who were polled ideally hope that the top 20% controlled about 1/3 of the national wealth here in the United States, while the bottom 80% controlled the rest. In terms of what they assumed, those who were polled felt that the top 20% controlled almost 60% of the national wealth, while the bottom 80% accumulated only 40% of that. However, in reality, the top 20% actually controlled 80% of the total national wealth, while the bottom 80% controlled less than 20% of the total wealth in the United States. The results show that Americans do not truly grasp the reality of income inequality in the United States. And as a result, could this be a reason why the social, economic, and political issue continues to persist? Have Americans purposely buried their heads under the sand, or are they completely naive to the issue? Longitudinal studies have shed light to the relationship between income inequality and citizenship. Those who make less income are less likely to engage in the political process. They are less likely to vote, less likely to discuss politics, less likely to show up to a homeowners association meeting, less likely to register to vote, and the issue continues. In addition, with the Supreme Court case Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, the court equated campaign expenditures to political speech. As a result, those with more income are more likely to have a say over the political system compared to those who make less income. The questions to ask now are, how do we address this issue as a society? What are the underlying issues? How can the humanities help shed light on this issue? Today, we have two nationally renowned scholars, Nancy Beck Young, Professor of History at the University of Houston, and William Orr, Professor Emeritus of English at the University of Notre Dame, who will speak about this issue. Afterwards, we will participate as citizens in a deliberative dialogue, making ends meet. As part of the deliberative dialogue process, we will examine 3 options, discuss them, assess the approaches, and the drawbacks of each of the 3 options. And then we will share our thoughts to conclude.